Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
All I can say is this morning, smile. Smile. Pray and cherish your loved ones. These are difficult times. Let's all try to make them just a little bit better. Here comes Kate Smith, and God Bless America, followed by, come on, Patriots, call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning on a Monday. And a good morning to you on this Monday, already April 6th, and Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell, brought to you by Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Of course, they're located at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Call the number 678-1191. And our friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Well, good morning again, sir.
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That boy Wheels. Right now, let's go to the weather forecast, and it's brought to you by K&R Rental. Good morning, Roger and the crew over there at 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. They've got all the tools and equipment you need. I mean, they are big, and they've got the best of tools and equipment for all your needs. Now, right now, coming into spring, they've got all your garden equipment, power rakes, all the garden and lawn equipment, rototillers, everything. Please don't hesitate. Don't wait. Call them right now if you have questions. 678-3122 K&R Rental. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We're looking at soggy conditions for today, but by tomorrow it'll be a completely different story. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting scattered rain showers off and on throughout the day, maybe some thunderstorms by the afternoon. Plus, it's going to be a little bit breezy, expecting a high of 59. Tonight, isolated thunderstorms, then tapering off to mostly clear skies in the overnight hours with a low of 33. By tomorrow, sunny skies, slightly breezy, high of 60. Looks like 65 for Wednesday. And then as we take a sneak peek at Thursday and Friday, mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the mid to upper 60s. That's what's the weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
That is the forecast I've been looking for. Amen. 39 degrees outside right now. Weather forecast brought to you by K&R Rental, 256 South, 600 West of Heyburn. Yep, can't miss them. On the Burley Paul Highway. All your tools and equipment. Roger and the gang waiting to serve you. 678-3122. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. Don't forget to our friends at Darrow's Cleaners. And you know, it goes without saying that dry cleaning disinfects clothes and bedding, and we've got to really pay attention to cleanliness and hygiene more so than ever today. And I urge you to stop in and see my friends, Kevin and Cindy. They are there to serve you with the best of dry cleaning, and they'll even wash your clothes, dry your clothes, fold and iron all your clothes, just like Mama used to. Give them a call, 878-8900, or stop in Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
You know, my hat's off to our President of these United States, you know, because he has formed a committee and everything to handle this terrible virus that has overcome all of the world, not just United States. But, one of the things that he did in the very beginning was to try to get people to cancel all their great big events. Now, the only one that I know of that didn't do that was New Orleans and their Mardi Gras. So today, they're only second to New York in the amount of deaths.
This is a terrible time right now, and I'm just going to say this, and I'm not going to I don't want to get into the morbidity of what's going on too much. This is Holy Week, and a lot of people have overlooked that, with Maundy Thursday and Good Friday and, of course, Easter Sunday looming on the horizon. And I am not going to allow coronavirus or anything else to overshadow the meaning and the hope that this Holy Week provides. Do I make myself clear?
Very clear and very understanding. Because, whenever this thing finally passes, I think we're going to be closer together than we ever were before in churches and organizations, because life will suddenly take on a new meaning.
I hope you're right, Keith. I really do hope and pray that the great big chasm between the partisan politics will somehow get a Band-Aid and try to heal itself. I'm not as optimistic about that as you might be, but I think we all need to, as people that are out here paying the taxes and trying to make a living and everything, I certainly hope we will come together and be more respectful of each other in what we're trying to do. Keith, you kicked it off very well this morning. Thank you, my dear friend. God bless.
You have a wonderful day.
I will. Thank you very, very much. Right now, there's a couple of things I got to say. I've got to get this on for our dear friends over at Ramsey's, and then I have a special note about the Senior Center in Burley. I want to get that on in just a moment. Don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, and the number to call, 678-0459. They are open 7:30 in the morning till 5 Monday through Friday for all. Underline that word all. It's true. Your heating, cooling, and electrical needs right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Almost 7 decades of service. Holy mackerel. I mean, that is absolute. That's worth a Oscar, an Emmy, all kinds of awards. And I really appreciate them. They're good people serving you at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Now, I'll take some more calls, but I want to get this in. I talked to Bob the other day over at the Senior Center on Overland and Burley, and starting tomorrow, listen to this very carefully, everybody. Starting tomorrow, April 7th, they're going to start the curbside meal service again. Yes, they are. But you've got to call in the day before. So, like, if it's going to start tomorrow, you've got to call in today. Check the menus. I know they've got them posted in newspapers, etc. I'm going to be getting a menu. Bob's going to be sending me one. But you got to call in, and the number to call, 878-8646. Why do you have to call? So the cooks know exactly how many meals to prepare. And these meals are only $5. And believe me, it's good eating. Let's support our seniors at the Senior Center. And call in 878-8646. Okay, that starts tomorrow. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Quick reminder, due to the fact that almost all, if not all, the churches are basically closing their doors for this period of time for the coronavirus, I thought about this about 10 days ago, and I said, no, I'm not going to go without having something for Easter on my program, the true meaning and value of Easter. Therefore, this Wednesday, April 8th at 10:30 in the morning on this program, we are going to have Pastor Paul Thompson on and talk about Easter, celebrate Easter for what it really means. So please tune in for that Wednesday at 10:30. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zev. I got to thinking, we have over 34,000 deaths last year to the flu. And I just wondered how many of those people in New York City particularly are dying that actually have the flu, and then the virus perhaps tips them over the edge. And so I think those numbers are being padded just like they were over in Italy. Anybody that died was dying whether he had a heart attack or cancer killed you or whatever. They were all added to the totals. Now that China is just opening up everything, they seem to have gotten through all of this, and they're opening up travel, except for the United States, I guess, but they're opening up travel and everything. So something strange is going on.
Well, wait a minute. Let me jump in here too. Verification of the cause of death and or the numbers. Number one, you can't trust China. So if China tells you that the sun is shining, you better take a raincoat. I don't believe a word that comes out of China. I don't believe a word their government tries to throw out and spew out at the rest of the world. And I don't believe anything that's happening or not happening over there. They've been proven to be one of the, if not the, world's biggest liar. And as far as the death numbers are concerned here in the United States, certainly it could be attributed to a heart attack, a heart disease, but you have to admit a lot of the coronavirus, because of it tackling and hitting underlying health conditions, whether it's a kidney problem, whether it's a heart problem, whether it's diabetes, all of those can be associated and lumped together.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's well to know that our media lies just about like China does. In fact, they've been lying. I'm sorry, but they keep, initially they said 2 million Americans were going to die from the virus. Okay, that was the original model. And see, they use models. It's just like the climate models. All 73 of the United Nations climate models have been proven to be wrong. Well, now they're using models to see how many are dying. And, of course, I don't know what the death total is now. It's 10,000, 11,000 nationwide and worldwide. But compared to the Spanish flu and all these other things, I mean, it's not that it doesn't kill people, but I think we have to look realistically at the numbers and how they're being manipulated to keep us in a lockdown situation. And I think we need to open up the stadium.
Well, I'm not
on with life here and adopt the Swedish policy. And I personally think the reason they don't have much virus problem in California, they have a lot of huge Chinese population. They flew out of the country, flew back for the Chinese New Year celebration, and I think what they call herd immunity. And in other words, a lot of people got like flu-type symptoms and cold-type symptoms, and maybe it only affected those that already had respiratory problems or, other things going on them. But why is it California hasn't had a problem? I realize they're scattered out, but there's still also big, large cities there.
All right.
And
all right.
Something's going on there.
All right. I tell you what, I do appreciate your viewpoint on this, and I absolutely agree with much of it. I've got some other calls stacked up, and so we're going to take those. But, Adrian, I appreciate your call, and it's something that we're going to keep looking at because, quite frankly, we've got to get back to work. So thank you very much for your call.
It's affecting everybody.
Yep.
I know people in the ag industry can't. Right now, they're closing down slaughterhouses, so where are you going to put your fat?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it's going to lead to food shortages down the road. That's a problem.
We hope not, and we pray not. Thank you. very much for your call this morning. Caller number 2, I'm going to ask you to please stay by the phone. I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about Dino's Septic Service. Septic tank pumping and septic tanks and drain fields installed, backhoe services, water and sewer lines installed, mainline irrigation and installation and repair. They do it all. Septic inspections. These people are so good, so smart, and so helpful. Call them, 436-6526 or 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service. Dino's Septic Service, with the big truck that says smells cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Caller, thank you for your patience. Good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. Now, if you want lunch tomorrow at the seniors, you have to order it today before noon, and it's beef. Forgot what it was.
Beef stroganoff? How does that sound?
Pardon?
Is it beef stroganoff?
No.
Oh.
Stew.
Oh, okay. Beef stew. All right, Joe.
You have to order it before noon today to pick it up tomorrow. I'm not sure of the time. When you call in, ask them what time they're going to have it ready for you.
All right, well, just call. The number to call is 878-8646 at the Senior Center. You got to call the day before to order your meal so the cooks know how much of that great food to prepare. Joe, how are you this morning?
I'm terrific.
Well, good.
Better than that, I can tell that already.
All right, by golly, you have a wonderful day. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Joe. At the Senior Center on Overland in Burley. Really good folks. There was an article, an op-ed, in our paper yesterday that offended me because this person by the name of Chris Houston that writes this op-ed, I don't think he really paid attention to a lot of his facts, and quite frankly, there was one part of his op-ed that really riled me when he called the people involved in radio riff-raff. I didn't like that. I have never met Mr. Houston, nor do I care to, but he made a comment in his op-ed. I'm sure many of you read it. He said, quote, "Last Tuesday on his daily radio broadcast, Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient Rush Limbaugh said in response to all the shutdowns and closings that people are telling me the American left is the worldwide Communist Party now, and that they are willingly subverting this economy and destroying it for the purposes of eliminating and wiping out capitalism. Limbaugh said nothing to rebut this idea, letting such incendiary nonsense stand unchallenged." Well, first of all, Mr. Houston, if you'd have done any kind of research before you blathered with your pen and ink and your nonsensical ideas, you would have found out that in the last couple of weeks, people like Gavin Newsom, governor of California, and James Clyburn, one of the mucky mucks of the Democratic Party, have all come out and said statements that are absolutely contrary to what you have written. Many have said it's a great way to help expand the liberal vision for America, speaking of the coronavirus, to expand the liberal vision for America, and to state that the liberal left is not subverting this economy and destroying it for the purposes of eliminating and wiping out capitalism. I think Limbaugh hit it on the head, and we are seeing much of that. And then for Mr. Houston to come out and say we only get arguments among the feds, the states, the radio riff-raff, that really bothers me. I don't consider myself to be riff-raff. I consider myself to be very open, honest, and very opinionated, of which I don't apologize for any of that. But I'm going to tell you the truth. And that's what you're going to hear on this program. But to Mr. Houston, whom I hope hears this or someone tells him, don't call me or my associates on the radio riffraff. We are trying our best, I think, this program and many, many others, to bring you an honest appraisal of what's going on. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Holy cow, look who's on my program this morning. Old Zach and the crew at Minnecasia Sales. These are really, really nice people at 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. You can't miss them. And they're open. And I'll tell you what, you'll not be disappointed by the great, great prices on all they have for you as far as your flooring needs, roofing material, windows, doors, siding, anything. And I'm telling you, they really take care of you. When you walk in the door, they're going to say to you, how can we help you? Zach's got a great big smile on his face. So I urge you to get a hold of them today. Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. You stop in and say howdy, just like Minnie Pearl. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There's a lot going on right now. There is a lot going on right now behind the scenes. And I just was paying a little bit of attention to the medicines that possibly are available to help curtail or minimize the coronavirus. And I am wondering, and I want to ask you folks this, I'm wondering whose side the World Health Organization is on. They always jump in and jump in front of any idea or any promotion of a new medicine that possibly might help curtail this coronavirus. Now, you've heard the newscasts, and they're talking about one in particular that has been given. It's a drug that's been around for 40, 50 years, and it has shown with the patients that have received it that it has put them back up on their feet in a matter of a few days with no residual or bad effects. But the World Health Organization, no, you can't. It's almost like the World Health Organization wants this pandemic to extend itself. And I'm going to tell you something else about the World Health Organization and their director, this Tedros Ghebreyesus. Hope I said his name halfway close. They have come out with a statement that this past weekend that abortion now by the World Health Organization is considered an essential service. Now just think about that. They said that services related to reproductive health are considered to be part of the essential services during the COVID-19 outbreak, and therefore the World Health Organization is underwriting abortions. You see what I mean? It doesn't take a mental giant to realize that the liberal left is subverting, changing, and tangling things to get what they want. And governors and health departments across the United States have issued decisions on whether or not abortions are considered essential services. Texas, Ohio, Oklahoma, Indiana, and Iowa, as well as the governor of Mississippi, have declared that abortions are non-essential, and they ban these procedures at this current time with the coronavirus. But Massachusetts, Michigan, Minnesota, Indiana, New Jersey, Illinois, Oregon, Hawaii, and Virginia, they all said that abortions are essential during this outbreak. What are your thoughts about this? I'm telling you, there are so many related stories to how the left wants to come in and change and twist and make our society more of their liberal vision. Think about it and give me a call, please. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call on a kind of a dreary, wet, soggy Monday morning, give me a jingle, 39 degrees outside, Magic Valley Irrigation Hello, Jeff and the crew. I'm telling you, what a great bunch of people. That Jeff is an A1 stand-up guy. I mean, he's really a nice guy at 44 East 500 South of Burley. And the numbers to call, 678-3101 or 431-3101. And they got everything over there, the handline risers, Heliarc welding, the pumps, the manufacturing of wheel line elbows. Oh, I mean, they've got experts working there to serve you. Magic Valley Irrigation, just ready and roaring to go for this irrigation season. 678-3101. Caller, good morning to you.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, the reason why things are so fouled up is because Nancy Pelosi and her lapdog, Chuck Schumer, have, in order to stay in power, have caved into the left in this country. That's where the problem's at. In order for her to maintain power, they had to give up their allegiance to the United States and go over to the, might just as well call it the Democratic Communist Party in this country.
Mm-hmm. Tony,
that's my feeling.
No, I agree with you. I just don't understand how somebody, caller number 2, I'll be right there, how somebody like this Chris Houston can't see through to the forest because he's letting a tree hit him in the nose and see that the left is using all of this coronavirus, all of these attacks on Donald Trump. Let me ask you a quick question right there, Tony. What in the world more could President Trump have done or do now about coronavirus? This is something that 4.5, 5 weeks ago, nobody saw coming down the pike. Nobody saw it be this serious, etc. But now they heap all the blame on him. What more can he do? Tell me quickly.
Well, he can't do anything. He's doing all he can do, and the only thing I can say about that is if we had another slug like Barack Obama, and this country would be in another 1930s depression. And that people better thank God that we've got Donald Trump doing what he's doing.
I agree. I totally agree with you, and unfortunately I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, and I just hope and pray, and I mean this, that Trump can stay strong, stand tall, going into the election in November. Tony, I hope you and Mary are doing well. Please take care of yourself. You're in our prayers. God bless you. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Zeb.
You bet. Caller number 2, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Zeb, I've got a question for you. Why do we need somebody being able to commit premeditated murder of a living human being by doing abortions? And that's all it is premeditated murder. There's nothing other than that it could be or would be. That's a living, breathing human being that they're tearing apart inhumanely and destroying a life that they're destroying. There's no difference, none.
Well, what's your question to me, Jerry? What's your question to me?
Tell me, why should we allow anything such as this to happen in this wonderful, beautiful country? You know, we're just so lucky to have the president we've got. It's just too bad we've got governors and people in our government that want us to go to this mail-in voting system that is nothing but horrible corruptness run amok, that's going to give them the power to destroy our country more.
Well,
with something like
let's not confuse. Hold on a second. Let's not confuse the two issues here. I want to stay with what we're talking about with the abortion issue. You don't even have to. Wait a minute, Jerry, please. Let me state my case here. You don't even have to ask me my stand on abortion. I find it to be a heinous act against mankind. You've known that. You've heard me on this program for a long, long time. I can't do anything to change what the World Health Organization is doing or trying to do. I'm just telling you that I think it's absolutely a heinous event that abortion is considered an essential service during this coronavirus pandemic, and that these people like this Dr. Ghebreyesus Ghebreyesus of the World Health Organization are promoting this. I find it just another way for liberalism to promote their agenda. That's what I said, and I'll stand behind.
Well, I'll stand behind you on that subject, too. I always have and I always will. I think it's nothing more than a heinous, horrible act.
Absolutely.
And I think they'll do anything they can to destroy this country, to stop religious people from having their beliefs and letting people have the freedom of a good, strong country and a strong economy.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. By the way, my dear friend, what's your dog's name?
My dog, Daisy.
Would you tell Daisy not to bark so loud?
She barks all the time, and she never listens to me.
All right. Hey, God bless you, Jerry. Take care of yourself. Thank you for your call. I mean that.
Dear, may the Lord bless you
All right.
and this whole audience, and hopefully in the next 6 months we stop all abortions totally in this country.
Amen.
There won't be no such a thing as that, and
Amen.
we stop this voting by mail.
Amen.
Have a great day.
All right. Well, we want to, I tell you what, we've got a lot of things to talk about. And later on this morning, with my dear friend, Representative Fred Wood, the governor, of course, has said in the state of Idaho that we're going to have a mail-in primary ballot. And that's going to be on May 19th. And we're going to be discussing that with Fred at 10:06 this morning. And we're going to make a concentrated effort. I want to make it work if that's what it's going to be. I'm going to tell you that right now. I want to make it work if that's what it's going to be. In other words, if that's the way we're going to have the primary, I want to see people get out and vote and voice their opinion and use their United States privileges to select the people that they want. And I hear somebody on the phone.
The ballot, do I agree with a mail-in vote? I'll absolutely vote against it. No questions asked. I don't think there's any way on this earth that a mail-in vote could be honest in any way, fair in any way, just in any way.
All right, we'll talk to Fred about that later on this morning at 10:06. Jerry, God bless you. I got to run. Thank you. Appreciate your call. All right, buddy. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'll be right there, caller. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental Sales, Service, and Parts. And we had a really interesting conversation with old Buffalo Bill Cody over there at the Burley location the other day. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Napa location. Barry Equipment and Rental, they've got a brand new inventory. I mean, a big inventory of all the different Bobcats, all the different uses. They've got all the Doosan wheel loaders and excavators. They got all the equipment for lifting, digging, pushing, and carrying. So please get a hold of them today. Barry Equipment and Rental in Burley, Twin Falls, and Napa. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, sir.
My friend.
The World Health Organization needs to look at where their money comes from and who their loyalties stand with. If they're going to stand with China and back China and bash the U.S., the U.S. needs to say, okay, then you get your money from China. We're done paying the majority of your bills.
You know, and let me interject something right there, Doug, and I'm sure you know this because you're a news junkie, and I mean that with all respect, but a lot of people don't realize that this man, the director of the World Health Organization, this Tedros Ghebreyesus, he was put in office as the director because he won the election with a lot of China's help, and now he is running interference for China on the coronavirus. So it's a little bit of you scratch my back, and I'll darn sure scratch yours.
And that's when America needs to step up and say, okay, China, you step up and you pay the majority of the bills. We're done supporting the World Health Organization if they're not going to be truthful and honest.
Well, have you noticed?
They're to save people and help people in times of crisis. then we don't need to support them.
Have you noticed, though, the point I was making a little bit ago? Honestly, with the medications, one of which has been around for 40, 50 years at least, has been shown to have great results against combating the coronavirus, and patients that have received it, they were up and moving around and back to feeling good in about 3 days. And the World Health Organization dragging their tenny runners saying, oh, no, you better not use it. We need a whole series of tests and everything. It's almost like, tell me if I'm wrong, the World Health Organization wants to extend more of this pandemic.
They do. How is China going to become the number one economy in the world when America is as strong as it is?
Yep.
They got to take America down for them to take over.
Why can't people, honestly, I mean, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to be the number one computer expert in your whole town to look through this smoke screen and see that even some of our politicians, unfortunately a large number, are absolutely elbow to elbow and, quite frankly, in a crass statement, in bed with China.
It's very obvious. How do you think China got all of the production and all of the industries went over to China? It went over there because they bribed a politician.
Yep.
They said, okay, we'll do this for you. We'll, you just kick back money under the table. However they did it. But that's how the politicians have gotten rich. How do you become a multi-millionaire on a $170,000 a year salary unless you live like a pauper?
Well, and there's one guy. Hold on, caller number 2. I'll be right with you. Senator Rick Scott. I've got a lot of respect for Rick Scott. He is standing up and he is demanding a congressional investigation. Listen to this. Into whether the World Health Organization pushed Chinese government misinformation to help the communist regime cover up the extent of the coronavirus pandemic.
I agree with him 100%.
Yep.
And I stayed at Holiday Inn last night, so I know that China is guilty on this.
Well, they've been liars, and I'm not going to back up. I had somebody last week call and say, oh, you shouldn't say that about China. You're being a bigot. Well, hey, welcome to Bigots Anonymous. I don't care. They are liars, and they've lied about how many cases of coronavirus. They've lied about how many deaths they've had. They're lying about whether it's coming back again in a resurgence. I don't trust them.
I don't either. And when this thing first aired and first come to light, at the end of December, and President Trump says, let's send over some doctors and scientists and we'll figure out what's going on here and help you with this. And they did not want anybody there, and that's the big red flag that says, why?
Yeah. No, I think that the American public has to see through this smokescreen of what's going on with the World Health Organization, what's going on with the dragging their boot heels as far as medications and treatment is concerned, going out and professing that they want to enhance absolute abortions at this time. That is so cold and so heinous to me, I just can't understand it.
Yes, it is. It is very sad what they're doing to the unborn child. I mean, it's terrible to think that somebody would want to kill another person, and that is a person, because the mother has her DNA, and that glob of cells, as they call it, has a different DNA, which tells me it is not part of her body. It is another body inside of hers.
Yeah.
And God has said, I saw you before you were born.
There you go. There you go. Very good, Doug. Appreciate it. We've already kind of plugged the senior centers, but I'm going to let you do it one more time quickly, and then I've got another call.
Let's do what we can. Let's support them. Call them up and see if they're doing meals to go or curbside meals, and go fill your tummy, and you'll fill your heart, too.
Amen. Thanks, Doug. Caller number 2, I'll do your call before we go to the weather. Go ahead, please.
Isn't it ironic that the governor of Louisiana, who was recently reelected, this is the state that has the second most deaths. What does that tell us?
Well, I'm not going to get into what it tells us or doesn't tell us. This coronavirus is being spread all over the nation. You can dispute the numbers. You can say exaggeration, whatever. I think our government and our administration is doing all they can do to subject all the states and all the governors with the best of equipment and the best of care. But right now, we don't need people like various senators and congressmen that are standing up for China and saying China's the good guy, and we don't need the World Health Organization standing there slapping China on the back. They were the cause of this problem because of their lies and their ineptitude, and I'm not going to back up from that.
Well, you know, and it's such a shame because this John Kennedy, the senator from Louisiana, is such a good man.
Yes.
But there's a lot of corrupt people in Louisiana.
Now that goes without saying of any state, any political circle, whatever. It seems like the corruptness and I can get this or I can charge you more for this in this time of need. It's sickening. And you really brought up a good point, Keith, and I appreciate your call again. God bless you. I got to do the weather, my friend. Thank you. I guess he's gone. Okay, thanks, Keith. I want to talk to you right now quickly and then take some more calls. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to say a big shout-out and thank you to Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And following the CDC guidelines, their office is cleaned every hour. And after every patient, their staff has been trained on and supplied with personal protective equipment such as gloves and paper cloth masks, etc. And their phones are open 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. Please give them a call, 312-0957. For the best of your hearing health, Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We're looking at soggy conditions for today, but by tomorrow it'll be a completely different story. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting scattered rain showers off and on throughout the day, maybe some thunderstorms by the afternoon. Plus, it's going to be a little bit breezy, expecting a high of 59. Tonight, isolated thunderstorms, then tapering off to mostly clear skies in the overnight hours with a low of 33. By tomorrow, sunny skies, slightly breezy, high of 60. Looks like 65 for Wednesday. And then as we take a sneak peek at Thursday and Friday, mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the mid to upper 60s. That's look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Appreciate you, Gina. Thank you. Excellent job. Still about 39 degrees outside the Zeb at the Ranch studio. And I urge you to get a hold of them today at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. They do the best, providing expert diagnostic testing combined with the best technology to serve your hearing needs. At Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, number to call 312-0957. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Many of you are like me, small business owners. Many of you, like me, are self-employed. Many of you, like me, are scared, really scared as to keeping the doors open and keeping the business going. And there are some that seem to be a little selfish on their attitudes. But for those of us that are trying to stay afloat, I will say this, that there are help programs, H-E-L-P, help programs that are being developed. Now, last week, I can tell you that out of that $2 trillion stimulus program, there were some various plans set up to help small business owners. For me to sit here and explain how they work, what you need to do, and all the paperwork, that would be absolutely ridiculous. Why? Because I don't have all the answers. And even bankers were throwing their hands up in the air last week on Friday, trying to say, well, they sent us this yesterday on Thursday, but now this morning at 8 o'clock, this has changed. My suggestion is this, and I mean this. Call your accountant or your banker now, right now. Don't put it off. And find out what is available to you and how. We feel, Deanna and I feel, that we have been thoroughly blessed with one of the sharpest accountants in the world. And I'm going to mention his name, and that's Lyden Crane. I mean, that young man is absolutely, he's up on Mount Rushmore already, and he doesn't know it. I've got the highest respect for him and for his help, his knowledge, etc. But I urge you to contact your accountant or your banker and find out what's available to you for help in the form of grant money at this particular time to help keep you in business. Do that, please. I urge you to take care of that today. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. I would love to hear from you. They claim, they being New York and other eastern states, New Jersey, etc., they claim that the coronavirus is going to reach an apex, a high mark this week. That's what they claim. And they say that this week, starting today all the way through next Sunday, could and possibly will be the worst week of this coronavirus. And like I stated earlier this morning, this is Holy Week. And I think it behooves us to dirty our knees a little bit, get down on those knees, and pray. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. I'm calling to say that we in this wonderful United States of America are so blessed. And I think that our government, anyway, the current government, really wants to make sure that we survive this and that we come out more prosperous than ever. And we have the opportunity to do it because our government talks to us. So let's all get together and be kind to each other and obey the things that they ask us to do and just wait because it's going to pass.
Well, this too shall pass, and I can tell you this. I don't care about people's different opinions. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, as I am also. I think that for myself with a health condition, I think for my wife, who also has a health condition, I am going to minimize any and all opportunity of getting or contracting coronavirus. I'm going to adhere to the aforementioned guidelines by the health people, etc., and I'm going to do my part because I don't want to jeopardize Deanne's health whatsoever.
Well, and we need to remember that there are some industries that have to go to work no matter what.
That's right. That's right.
So we should just be so proud of them that they're taking the risk, that they're going out and doing what they've got to do to keep this country going. And thank God that we have this wonderful country. And I don't think anybody in leadership is trying to change it. I think they want to get us to the end game too, healthy and ready to go to work again.
I am praying for Wheels. Can you boost up the hearing? For some reason, it bottomed out a little bit in the last couple of calls. If you could boost up the hearing sent down the line to me, I would appreciate it. I am praying for the day that we can get on this radio program and say, like the pulling back of a curtain, welcome to the world. We're back in it, and we're going to do our best. I'm looking forward to that.
Something makes me kind of concerned. Others who are not Americans do a lot of bad service for cutting us down. when on one hand they're cutting us down, and on the other hand they're receiving help.
Amen. That's really the truth. I couldn't have said it any better. Chris, it's always a pleasure to have you. I got time for one more call, so I've got to run. Thanks, Chris. God bless you. Thank you so much. Caller, real quick, I've got a minute exactly.
Well, good morning, Mr. Bell. You know, I wish people would just quit doing stupid things. Stay the heck home, and let's get this thing over and done with. I am sick and tired of it.
Absolutely. I think you've summed it up. By the way, how's our dear friend doing? I bet right now on probably, the third day, he's getting very cranky.
Just a tad. But I just remind him who has to take care of him, and then he kind of shuts up.
I would suggest that I know he does a lot of woodwork and other things. I think there may be about a 3.5 foot long 2x4. I suggest you carry it in a belt.
You know what? I have a big wooden spoon on my wall that works just fine.
God bless you, Donna. Thanks. I got to run. Thank you.
You bet.
All right. George had some surgery over the last couple of days on his rotator cuff, and I wish him well, but I bet he's just snarling this morning, and I hope he gets better soon. We're going to take a little break, send it over to Wheels, be back in about 7 minutes. Don't go away. Oh, kind of a wet Monday out there. April 6th. Good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with, of course, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Number to call, 678-1191, as they help you get back to being you. And our friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, this good word, Wheels, for Western Waste.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're all at the Georgia disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this free land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, and I urge you to get a hold of them today at 734-6969. Get on the route service, and once a week they'll come by. Get your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there. Wave goodbye to it. They are so efficient and so helpful. Call them today at 734-6969. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Want to also remind you about our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. They are doing absolutely all they can to serve you during these very difficult times. Aching and painin doesn't stop for any kind of a virus or anything else. And recuperating from surgery or an accident doesn't just all of a sudden stop and take a hiatus. You got to take care of it. Well, they are helping you get back to being you at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. The number to call Nick Greenwell and all of the top-notch physical therapists, 678-1191. That number again, 678-1191. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, helping you get back to being you. Real quick note, too, that I want to urge everybody to remember Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with our dear friend Joel Heward, the manager, family, and staff serving you at Hanson Mortuary. And when there is the passing of a loved one, please do not forget that they absolutely serve the families with the best possible support and comfort. And always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. I urge you to remember that number. Write it down, 436-5636. That number again, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. And Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Before we go to our guest, Wheels, jump on the line real quick. Something changed about 8:45 this morning and lowered. It kind of feels like I'm talking into a drum. Can you check that for me a little bit on what's being fed down the line to me?
Yeah, like we talked about earlier, I'll just boost everything up and see if that...
Yeah, do that, please, because it absolutely is way too low. I appreciate that. Right now, one of my dear friends on this program, the president of Americans for Limited Government, and I'm talking about a man that also co-authored a great book called Necessary Noise. Rick Manning, how are you this morning? Good to have you on the show.
Well, I'm doing great, Zeb. How are you?
Well, I want to start things off with a question for you. And I don't care if you chastise or chew me out for thinking wrong, but I honestly believe from some of the statements that have been made by Nancy Pelosi, some by James Clyburn, some by Gavin Newsom in California, that the left is trying to make hay for their own agenda through this coronavirus. Would you concede that or think that I'm kind of a conspiracy theorist?
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt that they're trying to do that. It's you see it on a lot of different levels, but first level, they're already chomping at the bit to investigate, because after all, the president acted before any of them thought he should, but it wasn't fast enough through the 20/20 hindsight of the virulent left. And so, yeah, they're going to try to do that. They're going to make a case that this is an example where big government was necessary. We need even more government to be able to keep ourselves free from disease, free from danger, free from gun violence, free from actual freedom and liberty. And they're going to make that case. It's a case they always make, but they'll try to use the $2.2 trillion. Actually, we're going to spend probably $4 trillion when it's all done in response to this. And they're going to say, see, business is dependent upon government, as opposed to saying we had the best economy in history, and because of government response to the threat of the pandemic, we destroyed it. And what government destroys, they should at least attempt to capitalize so those businesses can survive a government-imposed shutdown through no fault of their own. So they're going to try to do it. But let me turn the tables a little bit, because here's what I believe we should do. We have an example right now of when you get the FDA approval processes out of the way, when we get the doctor knows and the bureaucracy who say, no, you can't try potentially life-saving medicines on people who have diseases that are going to cripple them or kill them over a long period of time, like Alzheimer's, for example. We have to get the doctor knows out of the business and learn from what they were learning in this coronavirus, where there's lots of different ideas that are coming forward about different ways to build a mask, different ways to create to get tests out there, different ways to different treatments that might work, different ideas that are being tried, and without having to go through a 5 to 10 year, multi-billion-dollar process to get them approved. This is an opportunity to say, you know what? Let's take the same regulatory approach to Alzheimer's, and let's go after Alzheimer's. Let's spend $1 trillion. Let's let private industry have the opportunity to try to find a cure, to try to find treatments that work better to keep people's memories longer rather than the current spiral we see, and get the government out of that way to be able to do that. Because if you've got Alzheimer's, it's a death sentence. It's a long, horrible death sentence. It's horrible to you. It's horrible to your family. It's horrible to everybody you love. And if we can use this kind of regulatory rollback on a disease like Alzheimer's to try to unleash the private sector to get a cure, we win. America wins, the world wins, Alzheimer's loses, and we make the case that, in fact, it's the doctor knows and the FDA that delay cures rather than all under the guise of trying to keep us safe. And that's how we turn the tables on them and show how cutting regulations and doing the things that are necessary so people can actually create and actually find cures. That's how we move forward, and that's the argument we have to make. I think it's an argument we can make, and I think it's an argument we can win.
You know, in addition to what you just said, I'll throw one other villain into the fray in accordance with what you just said, and that is the World Health Organization. These people, especially their director, Ghebreyesus, is absolutely dragging his feet, and the entire organization is dragging its feet, and they seem to be shinnying up to and patting the back of China. As a matter of fact, Ghebreyesus would not have won that election to be the top man of WHO if it wasn't for China's help, and now he seems to be doing everything he can for China. Would you add them into the fray of being the naysayers on everything and actually extending this pandemic?
Yeah, I think they've been directly culpable in expanding the pandemic. They've been directly culpable in the lies told by China at the outset that made us react one way toward the pandemic when it first came out, and then we had to discover on our own that in fact it was communicable from humans. You know, the Chinese were doing ads in northern Italy urging people to hug an Asian to avoid the stigma. We kept hearing Nancy Pelosi, go to the Chinese New Year's festival. We need to avoid the stigma, and there was no stigma against people from Asia. There's stigma because the Chinese who were flying from Wuhan were in fact a certain percentage of them infected, and they brought it here. That was the stigma. It's nothing racial. It was a simple fact of self-preservation, which Nancy Pelosi and her like could not comprehend, because they used the same kind of arguments as they used on the southern border. Because ultimately, anything Donald Trump wanted to do was wrong, and they were blinded by the hatred. But yes, the World Health Organization should be disbanded. Instead, what the UN is attempting to do is to institutionalize and create a tax across the world to expand the World Health bureaucracy so they can deal with the pandemic.
Absolutely.
Idea on how to deal with a pandemic. If you have wet markets in Wuhan, and we know that the pandemic, the last 3 of them have come out of there, perhaps you ought to have somebody sitting in Wuhan nonstop and testing people on various things to ensure that they don't have a pandemic coming out of Wuhan. And when you see something like that, when you see a virus kind of skip into the human species from a different one, which is what a pandemic is, because we don't have any natural immunity to those viruses. When you see that occur, nip it in the bud right off the bat, and don't let it go spread all over the world while you tell people lies about it. That's what the World Health Organization could do. But quite honestly, the Chinese will never allow that to occur because they don't want that kind of scrutiny. And the World Health Organization is, in fact, is a fraud.
Absolutely.
And if I were in Congress, I'd have a really, really hard time voting to give them a single dime of funding, as they are directly responsible for the spread of this pandemic.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that Senator Rick Scott's wanting a probe of the World Health Organization and the China and calling it a cover-up, he wants a complete investigation to go after these guys? Do you think this is going to get any legs, or are the powers that be in the swamp, are they going to stymie this?
I'm sure there'll be some kind of investigation. I don't think that anybody can, with a straight face, oppose it. The problem is that it will be Washington investigates stuff all the time, or opens investigations, and they sort of end up, 9 months, a year and a half from now, you get some report. Nobody remembers what exactly happened, and it gets washed away with the urgency of the day. And so, yeah, I think there needs to be an investigation, but the immediate thing that needs to happen is Congress needs to cut their dollars, cut their dollars off. It's let the World Health Organization, let the UN come to Congress and explain why they're valuable and show the reforms they're going to make to ensure they don't cause a pandemic in the future. before we give them another red cent.
Absolutely.
Let the Chinese give them red cents.
Absolutely, and that's, I know, a good pun, too. You said that very well. Let me ask you this. You're back there, and I've talked to many people on my program that are back there. From your standpoint of getting up every morning and I'm sure worrying about this virus, the contagion, the spread, etc., what is it like right now on the East Coast?
It's pretty all-consuming. It's as somebody who's in the public policy arena, it dominates everything, and so it becomes, like I say, it's pretty all-consuming. I'll give you an example. Every morning I wake up and I look at I'm tracking over every day the death numbers, because I'm tracking them against the projections that exist, and I'm testing a theory that I'm publishing. But the theory is that the death rate would start diminishing after the first week of April because of the allowance for hydroxychloroquine, that drug, and other drugs for testing and treatment around the country. And just the fact that there was a treatment that caused people not to be able to avoid the most critical stages, assuming it's being used, assuming that it's available, it should have a salient impact on the projected deaths, because the charts, people who do the projections didn't view a treatment as being possible or effective. So I'm charting that, and I spent a lot of time thinking about it. The fact that I learned this morning, because I read a lot of stuff in the morning about this, in New York, the number of hospital admissions for COVID-19 is down dramatically, and the number of people who have been released from the hospital who went in with COVID-19 has increased dramatically. In fact, 1,000 more people in New York on Saturday were released from the hospital who'd entered in with COVID-19 symptoms than were admitted into the hospital with COVID-19 symptoms. That means a very simple thing. One of the concerns has been hospital overutilization, not having enough ICU beds, not having enough ventilators, and if they're dropping off that dramatically in terms of people going to the hospital rather than coming in, being released, it tells us that people have been cured, A, and B, that the viral spread in the external community has been mitigated, has dropped significantly, because you would have anticipated it to continue up exponentially for a certain period of time. So it tells us that in New York that there's a high probability that we're going to see that we're on the backside of the curve that we're trying to flatten, and that you should see deaths dramatically decrease in New York, and I'll just say New York over the next few weeks, few days, actually. If that occurs, New York's been creating a significant percentage of the deaths in America have come out of New York.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's occurring, and if no other hot spots develop with the same intensity as New York, you should see the death rate significantly decline because of whether it's treatment, whether it's just the virus burning itself out. I don't know, but I suspect it's because we now have some treatments. We've given doctors some bullets in their gun to try to kill this thing, and those bullets, while not 100% effective, are likely effective to a certain degree, which keeps people from dying from this disease, from the disease progressing to the point where they're on ventilators. That's a big step, and Zeb, I started tracking on March 31st for a very specific reason. That's the date that Donald Trump got the FDA to approve widespread use of hydroxychloroquine.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose that date very specifically to test it, and I'm not worried about cases per se. I'm worried about deaths, and because deaths ultimately there could be 10 million cases, but if only 12 people die, it doesn't matter. So that's so that's what we're testing. The test's been going on for about a week now, and if the numbers are correct that we got from yesterday, there were about 800 fewer deaths nationwide than were projected by the people out in Washington State who provided those projections that are being used by the CDC. And if that number holds, we could be on a completely different pathway in terms of the number of deaths nationwide that can be expected, and we can start having a conversation, a legit conversation about reopening the economy and readjusting our social distancing strategies on May, looking through it by the end of May or end of April, as opposed to waiting till the end of May. Those are because that's the argument that ultimately we're going to have. The fight we're going to have is when you open, and it's a state decision. And I would encourage your people in Idaho to talk to your state government and explain that they've got to get open. And the news up in front of this show said that you had a decline in number of cases, a significant decline in number of cases. So the state health officials are looking at this, but you have to get the governor to understand that you can't kill people's livelihoods, hopes, and dreams on the off chance that there might be some kind of slight bump in the number of people who are ill based upon this disease, particularly if we're on the back end of it and we see the death numbers going down, the overall nationwide projections dropping precipitously. So that's a long way to say, yeah, we live and breathe this thing, and I read as much as I can about it because it's the only public policy question that matters right now. And we have to fight the battle to get our country reopened and preserve free enterprise at the back end of it, so the country looks somewhat like what we left when we started this thing 3 weeks ago.
Right. Rick, one last thought, and again, I'm a little cautious about bringing this up, but do you feel that there has been a commingling, if you will, and this sounds like I'm creating more morbidity to this, but I'm not trying to. Do you feel there's been a commingling of people that maybe had underlying health problems, bad hearts, diabetes, liver problems, kidney problems, and their passing was commingled with the coronavirus to inflate the numbers? Do you think that's a possibility?
I don't know that it was to inflate the numbers, but I think it's definitely. We know in Italy that occurred. That there were a lot of people who were about half the people who died in Italy. The health professionals there say we're likely to have died within the next 6 months from an underlying illness, and this disease just sped up the process because their body wasn't strong enough to fight it off. I don't know that it's deliberate. I do know that there is since this preys on those who are physically weakest, and those are the people who are most likely to die from it. There's definitely a commingling that exists, and there are some reports that people are just counting everything as being COVID-19 oriented rather than maybe the underlying illness that weakened them in the first place, because it was the COVID-19 that had the final effect. But Zeb, I don't think there's a public health conspiracy to try to expand their power and grasp. I think the one thing that we have are people who look at worst-case scenarios, and they look at the fear of a worst-case scenario, and they're trying to avoid that. And, the worst-case scenario was millions die, and that's worth avoiding.
Yep.
And whether or not we avoid that based upon the actions we've taken, or it would have been avoided whether we took those actions or not, we'll never know. We just know that I think it's reasonable to know right now that through August of this year, there will be somewhere between 60 and 90,000 deaths from COVID-19, maybe 100,000 deaths from COVID-19. And the question is, at what point do we say we have to resume life because the cure is worse than the disease?
Absolutely.
And I believe that point is likely to be, we're going to have the discussion the next 3 weeks, and it's not the president that's going to make the determinations, be it governors. So you have to have a discussion with your governor and make it so your governor has the political fortitude to stand up and say, okay, we may lose a few more people from this disease, but we're going to lose a whole lot more people from the effects of destroying our economy and throwing us into a massive depression.
Absolutely.
And that is and those are hard decisions because government should never have to make that decision. But once again, government broke the system, so government has to fix the system. And fixing the system at this juncture may be just getting out of the way.
Absolutely. Wow, I wished I had more time, and I'm over time. My dear friend, President of Americans for Limited Government, I have the utmost respect for you, Rick Manning. God bless you. Stay safe. Stay well. We'll talk to you next Monday.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Safe as well.
All right, sir. Thank you very, very much. Every time I get him on this program, I learn more and more. He's got all the facts right there. Rick Manning, thank you very much. Hey, I want to remind you, too, about our friends at Let's Ride. Now, listen carefully to this. They've got new hours. They're closed on Mondays, and then they're open Tuesday through Friday, 9 to 5, Saturdays 10 to 2, and they're providing great service work on your four-wheelers, etc. 15% off on all the service work right now, and if you need parts or anything like that, rather than go into Let's Ride, they will ship them to you. So please call the number, 436-4771. Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it's so true. This is where the fun is sold at Let's Ride. Want to also urge everybody that's basically worried about your protection, your family's protection, and your business protection. I know an insurance company that serves you and really is responsive and dedicated to your needs, and that's Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. You call them. Make an appointment at 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Monday, my friend is on the line back in Golden, Colorado, and he is my friend. Yes.
I was just going to let you know, he was breaking up a little bit on his line, so he's having to call me back.
All right. Well, let me know the minute he's there. Frosty Woldridge will be on the program momentarily. Every day I've been fighting this frog in my throat, and I apologize for that. While I am waiting for Frosty to get back on the line, I want to urge you to remember Zack Attack. Yes, sirree. Old Zack's over at Mini-Cassia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. You know where it is, right across from the airport. And they're open and ready to serve you with all your flooring needs, roofing material, windows. I mean, they've got windows all over the place, doors and all your siding. And I urge you right now, they've got a special going on. You get a free pad with $200 worth of carpeting. Woo-hoo! Better get a hold of them today. Mini-Cassia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, 878-2091. Do we have him on the air, Wheels?
Yes, sir, we do.
I can't wait to talk to him. He wrote an excellent piece that I just read 5 minutes before I went on the air this morning, and it's called The End of America as We Knew Her. And here's an outstanding friend, an outstanding author, Frosty Woldridge. Good morning.
Well, good morning, Zeb, and I hope that every listener across America this morning gets a hold of this latest column, and you can go to newswithviews.com, and it's on about 10 other news service websites, but it's called The End of America as We Knew Her. And for those of you who would like a primer on this, I've read the book by Mark Stein, who wrote it 10 years ago. It's called America Alone, and he literally dissected what's happening in Europe and has happened to Europe, and it is very sobering. And, of course, then Douglas Murray came out with The Strange Death of Europe, Identity, Immigration, and Islam, and then another book by Canada is called Canada Stand, How Multiculturalism is Destroying Canada by Sarah Yassini, Yasini. I couldn't help myself after reading these books and putting this all together. I hope everyone gets a piece of this and understands the unbelievable consequences of continuing mass immigration into America.
You know, Frosty, of all the weeks that we've been on this program and all the years, literally, you've preached and taught us about common sense, and the government just doesn't seem to be applying anything with common sense. I mean, when you talk about another 100 million immigrants coming in less than 30 years by 2050, and then you talk about our country and our health right now with the coronavirus, and what's going to happen with the environment, and what's going to happen with what we need for food and sustenance. I mean, where is their mindset? These people absolutely are crazy.
I really hope that every American listening to this broadcast understands that all of us are going to be negatively affected by this onslaught, this invasion, this incursion into our country. And I know I've been speaking to you almost 20 years now, and we are in such danger. And as I said at the beginning of the piece, the COVID-19 virus is going to rage across this country, but it's going to be solved at some point. But the real virus, the one that's going to destroy our ability to function as a civilization, as a culture, as a language, and as an ethos, the American people, is going to be completely destroyed by the virus of immigration, both legal and illegal. And the legal is even more lethal than the illegal, because the legal is coming in at over 1.2 million per year. And again, then they are in turn having 900,000 babies per year. So you can see that's 2 million per year right there, that are literally swamping everything and anything in their path as they explode our cities, they explode our highways, they cause gridlock, air pollution, and of course the unbelievable damage to our environment. I don't understand it myself. I've just sent this column out to probably 50 or 60 Facebook news pages, the Patriots of America, illegal immigration, stop it, you name it, Trump and all of his Facebook pages. I'm getting it out to everybody because this clearly shows that whatever we think is happening bad right now with COVID-19, it is a drop in the bucket if we allow our country to add another 100 million immigrants into America within the next 30 years. And that, there's a video right in the middle of the column that shows you what it's going to look like. I urge everyone to watch it and then share it with all their friends. Share the column to everyone so that we can all start a national discussion to rescind the 1965 Immigration Reform Act and shut down all immigration if we hope to survive this.
Let me ask you a favor. I want you to go out in your garage after this little segment, and I want you to get some wood, and I want you to carve out on your saw the word stupid, in big 10-foot letters. And then I want you to go to Mount Rushmore, and I want you to put those letters stupid up on top of Mount Rushmore, because this is the attitude that I have as to what's going on. We are told to hunker down. Deanne and I, our governor, and I'm sure you've had edicts, hunker down, stay in your house, avoid possible contamination and infection with the coronavirus. And at the same stupid time, our borders are so porous, people are walking in.
And yes, indeed. Again, I can't make this clear enough. You all know me. I mean, anyone and everyone that's ever heard me or read me on national news service websites or certainly national radio shows, those borders are as open as an open-air market. Those borders from San Diego all the way to Brownsville, I just rode it this summer on my bike. Last summer on my bike. The borders are as open as they've ever been since 1965. That is the reality we're facing, and they're coming over by the thousands every night.
And people have got to be open-eyed, if you will, as to the changes that are going on right before their eyes in our society, in our communities, in our schools. Just for instance, like the paragraph that you wrote in your article, Spanish dominates businesses, schools, and workplace conversations. And it seems like it's transplanting and throwing away the English language as the language of preference for this great United States. I mean, I'm worried about this.
You should be a lot more than worried. I traveled through Europe, and I got to see it myself. Places like Sweden are literally being taken over by the Africans. There's a new imam in Virginia just today called for Islam to conquer America and to take over and make America right for Islam. That's what's happening. And yet, no one's talking about it. The mainstream press will not report this, that we have people from a highly incompatible religion called Islam coming out of the 6th century, and the leader of it used to chop people's heads off and rape 9-year-old girls, and he is the leader of that, and he and they are embedding themselves in America at an extraordinary rate of speed, doing the same thing in Canada, and then at the same time, Canada is being invaded by the Chinese because they got to find another place to start living because they are exploding out of their britches over there as they add around 8 million net gain every year. Again, this is a phenomenon, Zeb, and every person listening, that if we don't stop it, we will become the victims. And as it is right now, we are becoming the victims. Look at Los Angeles. Look at New York City and the homeless there. Look at Chicago. Look at Miami, a completely different world in Miami. Go to Los Angeles if you want to see a completely different world. Arizona turning completely Spanish. Texas, again, turning Spanish. And Detroit turning Muslim, Middle Eastern. Same with Minneapolis, Minnesota. Same with Lewiston, Maine. I've been to these places in my trip last summer. This stuff is not, oh gosh, that's way off in the future. It's happening right now, Zeb. Again, we have to get this issue on the front pages and in the front of ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, Fox News, NPR, whatever you can do in your home with your computer. Start writing NPR. I've given you all the information. Read this article today on newswithnews.com, and let's push this to the forefront of the American people and educate them just like you all are being educated on the Zeb Bell Show. Otherwise, again, if this thing just keeps coming along like it's been coming along, and you and I have been talking for almost 20 years, it hasn't changed. In fact, in 20 years that you and I have been on this show, we have added somewhere around 50 million people to this country. In other words, we're adding 30 million per year. 30 million per decade.
Yeah.
We are adding 30 million people per decade to the United States. And that, again, as I said, is going to continue unless we do something to stop it. Do I make myself clear, Zeb? I don't know what else to do.
Absolutely. And then I want to, in the time remaining, I want you to discuss this a little bit. Then we have the liberal left and people like Gavin Newsom of California, Pelosi, and others, and including Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They are ecstatic for the problems that the coronavirus is causing because then it helps further their cause, in her case, Cortez's case, of emptying out the prisons. I mean, this is complete lunacy.
And the lunacy of somebody like a Nancy Pelosi, who should be she should be the charter member for the Dementia Society of America. Well, of course, along with Joe Biden, but also along with Maxine Waters. And I could go right down the list. John Lewis in Georgia, Hank Johnson, the Dementia Society of America, Hudson down there in Florida. Or Cortez, she should be the charter member for the Airhead Society of America. In other words, all she has in her head is air, not intelligence, not education, not experience in the world. A pretty face with no brains, talking out of her mouth with no understanding of what she's saying. And we, the American people, have to tolerate this. I mean, it's just beyond my comprehension.
I can't imagine what's going on in the inner cities right now with not just certain areas, but across the board. Sheriffs in Arizona are worried sick as to what's going to happen with these prisoner releases. Sheriffs in Georgia, sheriffs in Florida, sheriffs in New York, Minnesota, etc. They are worried sick about what's being thrown back into the public fray. And one case in particular sticks in my mind from a week ago. They let one guy out at 8 o'clock in the evening from his incarceration, and the next morning at 7 o'clock he was arrested again for armed burglary. I mean, this is insane, Frosty.
Well, it certainly is. Not only that, a lot of these people in these prisons are drug addicts. They're complete alcoholics. They are rapists. And what is the first thing they're going to do when they get out of prison? And again, you have to understand, these prisoners, most of them illiterate, never got through high school, had emotional, social problems from day one, especially out of the projects. They're essentially completely flawed human beings that are either violent or are psychotic or sociopathic, and then because they've got coronavirus or they don't want to have it kept into the prisons, they unleash them onto the American public. Who is running the insane asylum that's doing this to the American people?
Absolutely.
It's beyond my comprehension as a rational, reasonable American citizen.
Absolutely. We have a call with a question and a comment. Go ahead, caller, please. You're on the air.
Mr. Woolridge, under what circumstances would you allow some immigration, or are you against total immigration, any immigration into the United States?
Thank you for that. We could put a law in, rescind the 1965 Immigration Reform Act, and, if some American goes overseas and falls in love with somebody, then they marry them, then they can have that mate for a mate. But we're at 330 million people right now. And again, I want to make this very clear. The third world adds 83 million more babies net gain every year. So there is no sense or no purpose or no reason or no rationality that we can sit here and continue any kind of immigration. So you're correct. I used to say, let's have immigration knocked down to 100,000 per year. That was 3 years ago. Then I had a reader come in and say, quit fooling around. Let's have a complete immigration shutdown to our country. And that's what we need to do for the next, 10, 20 years. We don't need any more immigrants. We don't need any more gridlock. We don't need any more air pollution. We don't need any more of the chemicals that are sprayed on all of our crops that is multiplying with all of these people being imported into our country. So yes, if you've got there's another idea. How about if 100,000 people egress the country in a year, then we could import, or we could take in 100,000, but make sure that they want to be Americans, that they have to speak English, that they have to have a job skill and not go onto welfare like a Somalian that comes into this country. They got nothing to go on welfare, which is what 9.9 out of 10 of them do. So if you've got a better idea, then bring it to me. I'll bring it to a national op-ed. But as it stands right now, as an American citizen, knowing what I know and written the 3 books that I've written on overpopulation in America, we cannot afford continued immigration on any level for any reason, because we simply are not going to survive it. I hope this gives you some ideas, caller. Thank you.
Okay, so you wouldn't allow any political refugees.
No, I wouldn't. Help those countries help those people in their own countries. There's 100 million people that would like to come to the United States right now. 100 million at least. For those of you who know about the diversity visa, 15 million people sign up for just 50,000 slots every year. And as you all know, I've traveled all over the third world. I've seen how miserable they are. I've seen their starvation. I've seen dead people in the streets. I've seen stuff that Americans can't even understand or comprehend. Do we want to bring all of that into our country? And the answer is no. We do not want to bring refugees in. We don't want to bring political refugees in. We need to protect the American people. We need to take care of our own house and get it in order. And that means let's stop all immigration into the United States.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, caller. You know, Frosty, to some people that may sound really harsh, but I absolutely understand implicitly what you're trying to say in saying it. We're exacerbating a problem here in this country where our people, the American taxpayers, are always taking second or third place. And it's got to stop and put these people, our friends, your neighbors, our relatives, back to where they are number one and where they're treated here in this country.
Well, that's correct. And again, does anybody here listening to this show think that that anybody in the world wants to immigrate to Somalia or Congo or South Africa or into Sudan or into India or into Mexico or into Indochina? And the answer is no. And why? It's because they created hellish societies that are so overpopulated, so stricken with illiteracy and poverty, that there's no way to solve their problem. And I've said it at the end of this article. Do we as a country want to end up like the Titanic? Anybody here want to end up like the Titanic? Anybody want to have their children on the Titanic? How about, do you want to be on that road that Thelma and Louise took, where they created so many consequences that at the end they drove their T-Bird, because the cops were chasing them, they drove that 66 T-Bird over a cliff right there in Moab, Utah. I was at the site. I saw it. Metaphorically, we're in the same situation as the Titanic. We're in the same situation. We're taking on all that water from the North Atlantic because we hit the population iceberg. Again, the caller, anybody, do you understand what another 100 million immigrants will do to this country? Just the sheer numbers, not even talking about the linguistic chaos or the cultural chaos or the religious conflict coming our way or the language conflict, or the ecological conflict. There's no way we're going to survive it, just like the Titanic. No matter how fantastic it was, it couldn't survive its situation. Thelma and Louise, again, another metaphor. We're driving our country over a cliff. Do you want your children to be in that back seat of that 66 T-Bird, essentially, because that's where we're headed if we continue on this path, Zeb? And I can see it as clear as a bell. My next book that'll come out this fall, America's Overpopulation Predicament, Blindsiding Future Generations. Do you want to blindside your kids because you feel so compelled to offer another 100 million immigrants to come in this country?
Absolutely. I've only got time for one quick call, and I mean it's got to be short, caller, real fast. Go.
Well, you're right. Thelma and Louise headed for the Grand Canyon, and we got our foot to the floor, and we're texting. Yeah, and you see, what scares me is the ignorant, uninformed people of this country. I love them, but they're killing us. I'll hang up.
Respond quickly, caller, to the caller, Frosty. I've only got a minute left. Quick.
Zeb, God bless each and every one of us, because we're in so much trouble, just like Thelma and Louise, and the caller just said it. We're texting.
Yeah.
We're texting going down the road as our country is getting completely invaded by mass immigration at the hands of your two senators, my 2 senators, our House members, and the mainstream media who think that they're going to be immune to what the final consequences are.
Absolutely.
We've got to stop texting. Again, everyone needs to join numbersusa.com or .org, carryingcapacitynetwork.com, capsweb.org. We have got to empower ourselves. You've got to be educated. Talk to everyone. Get on NPR. Ask for me to be on NPR. Yours truly. I will speak for you exactly as I'm speaking this morning. We need a national conversation, Zeb. We need it now.
Got to run. Frosty Woldridge, Golden, Colorado. God bless you, man. Thanks for being on the program. I'll be in close touch. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Zeb.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Frosty Woldridge on our program this morning, and I absolutely, yes, agree with his opinion. Once again, Wheels, whatever you've changed or altered, if you could help me out on that, because it's still down and I feel like I'm in that bucket. Want to remind you, we got to get the weather on real fast. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. I absolutely firsthand agree with my wife, and I have said that they do such a phenomenal job. They are the professionals providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Let me tell you, they know tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, retirement planning, and I'm going to brag on them again. My particular accountant over there, Leiden Crane, has done an outstanding job for me. They all do. They are the professionals in Burley and Rupert, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And right now, here's Gina with the weather.
We're looking at foggy conditions for today, but by tomorrow it'll be a completely different story. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting scattered rain showers off and on throughout the day, maybe some thunderstorms by the afternoon. Plus it's going to be a little bit breezy, expecting a high of 59. Tonight, isolated thunderstorms, then tapering off to mostly clear skies in the overnight hours with a low of 33. By tomorrow, sunny skies, slightly breezy, high of 60. Looks like 65 for Wednesday. And then as we take a sneak peek at Thursday and Friday, mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the mid to upper 60s. And that's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
All right, thank you very much. I'm brought to you by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. And as I say, offices in Burley and Rupert serving you. This is a busy, busy time of the year for them. And they can and they will help you, your family, and your business. Don't forget, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. The professionals. Right now, we're going to take a little break and send it back over to our main studios. CBS News is looming on the horizon. We'll be back with Representative Fred Wood, and then also at 10:30, Vicky's Country Garden. Good morning, everybody. We'll be right back. Oh, good morning and welcome back. Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and of course our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, helping put us on the air at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And our friends at Greystone Crossing Senior Living, believe me, they're located at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Beautiful facility. And right now, I'll tell you what, they are all healthy at Greystone because they're taking every precaution to keep their residents as safe as is humanly possible. And they're providing the best of 3 meals a day, snacks, housekeeping, all of this and more. And I urge you, I really do. This is a wonderful, beautiful place. I've been there and seen it. You'd better call to see it yourself at 650-4979. That number again, 650-4979. Make an appointment so you can see the value of living at Greystone Crossing Senior Living, 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Also want to remind you, too, about 7K Metals, and I've had a lot of calls on this, and I always tell those callers to give my friends Lon Hardy and Sharon Wilmot a call, and they can discuss how you can build your financial future and security with silver. Absolutely, 7K Metals. What you do is you just find out more with Lon Hardy at 312-8699 or Sharon Wilmot at 430-3259. And like I said, silver purchases come right to your home. It's a great saving opportunity for you and a valued treasure for your loved ones. Don't forget 7K metals and silver purchases, and you can help build your financial future. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I'm very honored to have with us again on this Monday morning Representative Fred Wood, and Fred has done such a tremendous job in sharing with us information about the coronavirus, and also we're going to be talking about May 19th primary of mail-in ballots. We're going to talk about coronavirus first, and then secondarily talk about the voting for this May 19th. Good morning, Fred. How are you?
I'm doing great, Zeb. How are you this morning?
Well, I've been blessed. God has watched over Deanne and I so far. I assume the same for you and your wife. Bring us your opinion as a doctor and also a state legislator. Where are we in the state of Idaho with this pandemic?
Well, first of all, kudos to Governor Little for getting out in front of this in the state of Idaho. You know, a lot of states, not a lot of states, but certainly Washington was the first state that came in. And unfortunately, the cat was out of the bag there before they got on top of that, as happened in New York. But before we ever had community transmission in Idaho, essentially we shut down the state, or Governor Little did. And I think that's showing its rewards right now, Zeb. Just listening to the news this morning. And I also talked to Dr. Christine Hahn, who is the state infectious disease expert and epidemiologist. And I think we are starting to see a slowing of the number of cases in Idaho. Now, 3 days doesn't make a trend. But if what's happened in the last 3 days continues, then we are going to see a significant flattening of that curve in the state of Idaho. This morning, we've only got 1,013 cases. 5 o'clock last night, there was 1,101. And it's 1,113 this morning. So if that trend continues, then I think that we are making a significant progress, and we've done the right thing by closing down the state in effect and social distancing, etc. The one other thing I think that's new that has come out nationally in the last over the weekend has been the fact that CDC is now recommending that in addition to what we're currently doing, that anybody that goes out in public, when you go to the grocery store, when you have to go to a hardware store, when you go to the ag shops to get parts, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, anytime you're going to have a conversation with somebody, you need to be wearing a mask, Zeb. And whenever I go out, which is going to be fairly rare, you're going to see me with a mask. And I think I would encourage everybody, all of the listeners, to do that. Now, that doesn't mean that it needs to be a surgical-grade mask at all. You just need to have your face covered with a bandana, a handkerchief, whatever, your nose and your mouth. And there's all kinds of people in the community making homemade cloth masks now. And that's what we're talking about, and that will suffice. So I think I think those are the two things of note this morning. And then I'll stop there, and if there's any questions or where do you want to go from here?
Yeah, I've got a big question for you because you can answer it as a doctor. I absolutely applaud and support our president and others that stand up at his podium during press conferences every day that are willing to acknowledge that there are medicines and medications that have been around for 40 or 50 years that have shown that they are absolutely an aid and assistance against the coronavirus. And it would seem to me that the CDC and the World Health Organization seem to be dragging their heels in the dirt. Am I right or wrong in my assumption?
Well, I think you're right, but I think you have to be careful about why the CDC and others those people operate strictly on the fact that, okay, we have to have scientific evidence and we have to have scientific tests to show, no doubt, that these actually do work. Now, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence out there, but that's not empirical scientific evidence. So, obviously everybody, if something's going to work, then let's give it a try, for goodness sakes. I mean, I've listened to podcasts, particularly I think of note is Patient Zero in New Jersey. The very first patient ever to show up in New Jersey that had documented COVID-19, and he was going down the tubes, and they started him on hydrochloroquine and also 2 antiviral agents, one of which I believe they used on the Ebola virus. Now, in a matter of a day or two, he improved. The problem is you don't know why, but if in fact it was any one of those 3 medications, Zeb, then, when the chips are down and you're dying, are you going to quibble about whether you're operating on anecdotal evidence or do you have to have scientific evidence, et cetera? So, no, I think you're right. I just think you want to be careful about assigning any motive to why some people are saying, wait a minute, there may be evidence out there, but at this point in time, we don't have a body of evidence to indicate what we normally would like to see in terms of scientific endeavors.
All right, explain one other.
I think you're right, though.
Explain one other issue to me this morning quickly, and then we'll get into May 19, the primary. But when this morning I turned on the news, they were talking about this week in New York possibly could be the worst of the worst, and then they also said in the same phrase that they thought the coronavirus would reach its apex in New York this week. How do they judge and come up with the possibility of thinking that the disease is going to be at its apex in the next 7 days?
I think that's based upon what is happening with the epidemiological curve, and they're probably, and again, this is from talking to Dr. Hahn and listening to and reading a couple of other reports. All of these pandemic curves, you go through a phase of exponential growth, and then you go through a phase of linear growth, and then it starts to turn over the top, and when it reaches the apex and then starts down. Now, that's what they're surmising. Whether that turns out to be true or not, I don't know. It probably is true for the hardest hit areas like New York City, et cetera. The problem is that may not be true for other areas in the state of New York because a lot of those areas haven't reached much of exponential growth yet. So I this is going to be a lot longer issue than most people believe. And the real reason that it's going to, Zeb, is let's take a look at Idaho, for instance. Well, yeah, Blaine County and starting in Ada County now are starting to experience significant growth in coronavirus. As a matter of fact, I think Blaine County probably is approaching apex there. They have finally started to isolate seriously. But what about what about Cassia County and Mendocino County? We've only got 5 cases between us. What happens if somebody wanders in here from out of town and starts spreading that stuff around? So I think that it's going to be a mix and match of when different areas of this state and other states actually reach their apex. Because the entire state of New York is not going to reach their apex this week, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now we got to shift gears and go to a completely different subject matter, and it's very, very important. And we have had callers call into the program. They're not in favor of the mail-in ballot on May 19th for the primaries, but literally, what are you gonna do? I mean, the governor has said that we are in kind of a stay-at-home type situation. The polling places, the pollsters, the people that work at the polls, etc., they don't want to be exposed, and we're talking about a mail-in ballot on May 19th. I'm going to turn it over to you to explain what we're going to do and how we're going to get it done.
Well, I'll tell you what I know, but there's a bunch of people that know far more than I do, Zeb. And as we talked last night, I would encourage you to get Joe Larson, the county clerk,
yes,
and Tanya from Mendocino County, or whoever in here after today at some point in time to go through exactly how to do this. Now, I've done this back in March of this year. Scott Bedke and I voted by absentee ballot for the school bond issue that was before us. That was the only thing on the ballot. Turned out, Zeb, it was easier, actually, than going to the polls and voting. I mean, it truly was that easy. So this is what's going to happen as I know it so far. This week, every single registered voter in the state of Idaho is going to get a piece of mail from the Secretary of State. All you have to do, and I believe it's going to be some kind of a card, all you have to do is to fill out it will be an application. You fill out the application and mail it back to the county clerk or the Secretary of State. You've got your choice of where to mail it. My recommendation would be to mail it to your county clerk, whichever county you live in. And within a matter of 10 days, you will get a large envelope with a ballot and two smaller envelopes inside of that. Follow the instructions. It's very simple. You do have to sign one of the envelopes. You do have to sign the ballot. Let's see. No, you don't sign the ballot. I forget what else you sign. But anyway, the directions are very, very clear, very specific, and very easy. And you mail it back in. Secondly, you're going to get, every single registered voter in the state is going to get a second piece of mail from the Secretary of State in about 10 days, sometime next week, as a reminder and, again, an application that you can fill it out at that point in time and send it in. Thirdly, you can get on your county website, and I got on Cassia County's last night. It's extremely easy. You print off a application and fill it in, or you can actually fill it in online and send it in. Either one, whichever easier for you, to send it in to the county clerk. And again, a few days later, the county clerk will send you a mail-in ballot with instructions of how to do it, which envelope to put the ballot in, which envelope to put that envelope in, which envelope to sign, etc. Send it back. And it literally is that easy, Zeb. In addition to which, I know Joe Larson, the Cassia County clerk, is going to also engage in a couple of activities like the Secretary of State to remind every registered voter and those that haven't registered to vote to get in to register to vote and go through the process of just how easy it is to obtain a ballot and to mail it in.
I think it goes without saying, and I think you'd concur with me on this, that this isn't a new trend for finality of always keeping it this way. It's under the circumstances because of this pandemic, right or wrong?
Correct. This is a once in a, hopefully once in a lifetime thing for everybody. You know, we do have, I think we have 27 precincts in Cassia County. 6 of those 27 precincts have always, that's the only way you vote is by mail-in ballot. Now, those are the small, rural, outlying precincts that have very few people in it. But they're used to that and do it all the time. We get better returns from those small precincts in terms of percentage of people who vote than any of the other precincts in the county. So it's not something that's new. It will be new to a lot of people. This will be a one-time shot, only because of the coronavirus. But it is easy, and I wouldn't be afraid of it, Zeb. I think everybody needs to participate, learn a new process. We'll go back to the old process 2 years from now.
Let me ask you this, Fred.
In the general election.
Let me ask you this question. I think it is very important that you, as a legislator, perhaps take a minute or two and emphasize the importance of this primary vote.
Zeb, all primary votes are terribly important. And here's the reason. Primary elections, unfortunately, and it's truly sad, we don't get out a lot of people to vote. Cassia County and Mid-Doka County do pretty well, but we're still only at 40 and 50% in a good year. We do a lot better in the general elections, but here's the problem. If nobody goes and votes, and you wind up with 15% of the voting of the people eligible to vote cast a ballot, you know what that means? That means that your representative that you're going to send to Boise, that's going to make the laws and the rules that have the effect of law that you're going to have to live by in the next 2 years at least, that just a handful of people in this county voted for and nobody else voted, that's when you wind up with people who don't represent the majority of the county. And that's really sad, Zeb. I mean, think of the last 240 years or so that we've been a republic. And, you know, most of the time we've had good voter turnout, and that's why we have good people to go to the state legislatures, good people who represent local government, county commissioners, etc., and good people that go back to Washington to represent us. But if we don't vote and we get down to where we're at below 25% of the people voting are going to send our representatives to Boise and Washington, then shame on us, and we're going to get bad people representing us.
You know, Fred, it goes without saying that nationwide, when you're looking at a presidential election or any kind of a vote from the American public, why has the value of using our rights and freedoms to vote, why is it diminished? Is it a lack of education in the school system? What happened in our society that it doesn't mean as much as it used to?
Zeb, that's an excellent question. I'm not sure I have an answer to it. I suspect that it kind of depends a little bit in different areas of the country. I can tell you that the more divisive the country becomes, the less people are interested in politics, and the smaller the number of people you have that are interested in serving in politics. You know, I've been in the legislature for 14 years. I was on the Fish and Game Commission for 8 years prior to that, and interfaced with the state legislature on a regular basis when I was on the commission. So, you know, for the past 22 years or so, I've been observing this, and things have gotten far more divisive than certainly they were 20 years ago, and that turns off an awful lot of people. And I think a lot of people just are so turned off by it that they're no longer as interested in the process. That's really sad. That's a sad commentary, but at least that's what I've observed in the last 20 years.
One other note that would be a caveat to what you just said is that there's still the old adage, and I've heard people call in and use it on this program, oh, well, my vote doesn't matter anyway. How absolutely ridiculous, because there's been so many elections, I don't care if it's for dog catcher or for the United States Senator, that have been electing a person by a minuscule number of votes.
Absolutely. Well, look at Senator Fred Martin. He won his election 2 years ago with 6 votes. I mean, okay, so if a single family showed up to vote, it could have changed the results of that election.
Yes.
Every single vote does count, Zeb. I mean, this idea that your vote doesn't count, I'm sorry, but that's not true. Now, in some bizarre way, you might, when it comes to electing the President of the United States in the Electoral College, people may have some kind of an argument there, but I still don't think they have an argument, and every single vote counts.
Absolutely.
Everybody needs to go vote.
Absolutely.
And this year, we're going to vote. We're going to vote absentee by mail, but that everybody still needs to vote.
Fred, I appreciate your taking the time to come on the program this morning. I'm going to be in contact with Joe Larson in his office a little bit later after the program to get him scheduled, hopefully, for tomorrow morning. And I want to say thank you for all the information you provided to us this morning. God bless you. Representative Fred Wood, thank you so much.
Zeb, thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Man, that's really done a lot, and always there to help serve and give us information. Representative Fred Wood, thank you very, very much. I want to also mention to you our good friends over at Patterson's Electronics at 421 East Main in Burley. Hello, Curtis and Lorena and everybody. Number to call if you have questions about any and all the electronics goods that they have there. I mean, and the list goes on and on. They've got everything. All your electronic needs, home theater systems, video surveillance cameras, car stereos, speakers, complete sound systems. Oh, and hey, I'll talk about your television sets, Samsung, Sony, Toshiba, LG TVs, all and more. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6, and they're waiting to serve you at Patterson's Electronics, 421 East Main in Burley. Number to call, 678-6997. Right now, we're going to send it over to Wheels and be back in about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Deanne just came in about 3 minutes ago and said, would you like a piping hot raspberry muffin? I said, sure. I have welded my lips together. Wow, that was hot and very tasty, my dear. Thank you very much. Don't forget, too, our friends over at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Oh, my goodness, Jeff and the whole crew serving you. They're on limited hours right now and open, I believe, Monday through Saturday, 9 to 12. And they ask you to please call ahead and kind of like make a reservation so you can come into the store and kind of have it all by yourself with Jeff and the rest of the crew at 878-2341. And they've got phenomenal buys on power recliners and, of course, love seats and all the carpeting and furniture and mattresses. I urge you to stop in and see my friends. They care for you and they're taking care of you at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Once again, that telephone number, 878-2341. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Wow, that was a good biscuit, but oh my goodness, was it hot. Right now, oh my, I cannot wait to introduce this lady because it's that time of the year and we're going to be going for a couple of months of visiting with how to grow a better garden and take care of your lawn and get rid of all those evil bugs and everything. Hello to Miss Vicki at Vicky's Country Garden in Paul. How are you?
I'm doing great, Zeb. How are you doing? I would have enjoyed one of those nice raspberry muffins, too.
you know, they are so hot that when I took it out of the little container and I just thought, well, I'll eat it quick while they're finishing the bottom of the hour break. Holy moly, I had to dive my whole head into that glass of water I've got. I about burned my lips off.
See, that's what happens when you do that, and then you tell us all about it, and the rest of us don't get any. You deserve to get burned.
Well, nah. How have you been?
Fine. We're doing good over here.
Well, great. Well, we're kicking off the program right now, and, you know, there's so many things going on this time of the year. One day we get 60-degree weather and sunshine, the next day we got snow. What about it? What should people be thinking of and doing right now with their gardens in particular? And we'll talk about other things in just a minute.
Well, I mean, this is a good time. I mean, this nice little rain has put some good moisture down, And so let this kind of come through, and then you know, this is a good time to get your gardens tilled. There should be enough moisture in it now to where it should till up really nice, and get the compost on. We just got in 2 loads of good compost that's ready to go on the gardens and that type of thing. And so, you know, that's the basics right now, is getting the gardens ready. Some people have already had them tilled earlier, and they've got their peas and their radishes and those kind of things in, and then you know, this rain's going to bring that up in a heartbeat now. But if you haven't got all that done, it's basic is, you know, getting prepared. Get your fertilizer on, your compost, get everything tilled in, get ready to roll when it does turn off and get nice.
You really are serious that a lot of people have already put in their peas and their radishes?
Oh, yeah. Peas and radishes and spinach and lettuce and that kind of stuff loves this kind of weather.
Really?
There's a lot of people that have got them planted.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't know that. I thought you had to wait till the ground warmed up a little bit.
Not for those. Those are the cold crops, and lettuce and radishes, and they like it cold. They'll germinate in just a nice unfrozen dirt. They'll handle unfrozen dirt.
Oh, my goodness. I didn't know that. You know, you just said a lot of people tilled their soil earlier. They're doing it now. Is there any particular depth that they should try to maintain?
Well, I mean, it's always nice to be able to really, you know, turn soil over. I mean, you know, like, you know, with the farming, you know, they've got those plows that are like 14 inches that roll that dirt, but most tillers only go down. You want to go as deep as you can. You want to till that ground, you know, down 10, 12 inches if you possibly can.
Oh, okay. All right.
And get that turning and working. You want to do it that way. But most tillers are only about a 6 to 8 inch tine on them, so you just want to go down as deep as you possibly can, is the whole thing. The more you can turn it and turn that soil under and bring that other soil up for topsoil, it just makes it work. You know, you're bringing up new nutrients when you till it and bring that bottom soil up a little bit.
Okay, now do most people, and again, I'm professing that I'm not a gardener, but I've learned a lot from you. After you've tilled that soil, do you need to right away put some nutrients or some kind of fertilizer on it, etc.?
Well, you got to remember, if you're using that same dirt, I mean, if your garden spot is in one area, you know, every year, you need to rotate your garden. You need to put your spuds in one area one time and in another area. Spuds, corn, those kind of things have a tendency to, you know, they deplete the garden of certain minerals and fertilizer. And so that's why it's best to come back in with a good all-around fertilizer every year, because when you use that same garden area, it gets depleted, and pretty soon your crops don't do well. Because the nutrients all been used by the crops in previous years.
Okay, so what about all of that material as far as fertilizer, everything? And also, let's talk a little bit about the seed for your garden. Have you got all that ready and available?
Oh, we've got lots of seed. There's been a lot of worry about we were going to run out of seed, that there wasn't any bulk seed. Well, that's not the truth at all. We still have a full supply of the garden seeds in. We're, you know, completely full. We've got all the fertilizers. We've got potato seed, you know, the onion sets, the onion plants, the onion seed. We've got all of that. And it's, you know, it's time. Onions can go in right now. They like it cold. The onion sets, the onion plants, they can go out right now. And they, you know, they grow really good in this kind of weather. So, but yeah, we've got everything. Tomatoes are growing. They're a little small because it is still early. But, you know, don't panic. We've got lots of tomatoes, peppers. We will have lots of veggies. No shortages on anything. It's not like the toilet paper shortage. We got lots.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I have another question for you, and it was really kind of funny because I mentioned last week I started doing promos for starting your segment today, and a lady called me and she said, you know, she was watching one of those HGTV's programs where they were building for elderly people gardens that are off the ground a little bit, like 2-3 feet off the ground, so they don't have to bend over and get on their knees, etc. What about the dirt in those? How much dirt?
kind of depends on the depth that they're going to have in them. Depends on what you're going to grow. If you're just growing shallow crops, you only need 12 to 14 inches, to grow some shallow crops and that type of thing. If you're going to grow, corn is kind of hard to grow in the raised gardens because it needs to root down quite a bit deeper, and potatoes is another one that you've got to have them fairly deep. A lot of people are doing like a potting soil type situation in small beds, but that gets kind of expensive, and so it's kind of best if you can do get some good topsoil, compost, and then work in some of your potting soil into that top 4 or 5 inches. Doesn't cost as much to put a few bags in as it does to try to put 50 bags at $7-8 a piece. So, topsoil and compost is a little cheaper, and it goes a lot further.
Well, let me ask you an obviously dumb question, but can someone that really likes to garden, but maybe because of an injury or maybe because their knees have kind of given out and everything, they have to go to these raised gardens, can you raise enough crop in those raised gardens?
You can, if you're wanting to can and stuff like that. You're going to have to set up and have a lot of the raised gardens. You're going to have quite a big amount of the raised gardens. Most of the time on the raised gardens, it is for people that just want fresh eating because, it's kind of hard to do raised gardens when you're doing 50-foot long, 4-foot wide, 5, 6, or 7 of them like that to do a full garden. But that's the whole, the majority of people that do raised gardens are doing them for fresh, for fresh eating.
Mm-hmm.
And you can still do a little bit of canning, but like canning for a big family or something, unfortunately, you kind of still have to be down in the good old ground.
Now, let me ask you.
You have to have acreages to do that, so.
Absolutely. Vicki, let me ask you now, and I hate to even bring this up because I'm almost sick of talking about it because it's become a great big member of our family, you might say, and that's the coronavirus, the fears, etc. What are you doing differently over at Vicki's Country Garden to serve your clients but still maintain the safety that you want to provide for them?
Well, we have our hand sanitizer here that we use. The girls pretty much that are dealing with the customers are wearing their gloves. We do have masks if we need them. We wipe the counters and the machines and everything down on a regular basis with a Clorox blend, that are in here. Out in the greenhouses, I don't worry about it as much because it is open air. People are staying, you're a long ways away from one another. And so it's not as serious. And then you've got the fans pulling the fresh air through. It's not like an enclosed area,
Sure.
And but most people right now are coming, and we try to limit it to like 1 or 2 people in the store here at a time. Getting seed, because that's about all we can handle is 1 or 2 people at a time getting seed.
Okay. Now, what about your hours? Have they changed a lot from last year? Give us your hours that you're open.
Well, right now we're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, and sometimes we're here a little bit later if you need a little bit longer hour. If you need to come in a little later, just call and talk to me. I'm more than willing to stick around and wait. That's not a problem. Saturdays we're we're going to be like 10 to 3. Those hours will be lengthening as the season grows a little bit, and we'll be changing them on our signs, and then we're still closed on Sundays.
I'm going to ask you another kind of a naive, dumb question because we haven't talked about any of this prior to going on the air this morning. But do you publish some kind of a Vicki's Country Garden, now is the time list to plant this, that, and the other? I get a lot of calls, and I know I'm going to get some calls after this program. People are going to say, well, did she say we could plant this? Did she say we could plant this now? And do you have a list or some kind of information source people can get?
I can have my daughter put it. I think she may have it on the Facebook page. I'm not sure, but I can fax you a list so that you've got it there, so that you can answer those questions. But basically, it's the cold crops, the cabbages, the onions, the lettuce, the radishes. All the cabbages are ready to go out, and so peas like it cold. They love the cold weather. Some people are putting beets in. Spinach, kohlrabi, Swiss chard, all of those kind of leafy crops like that can handle the cold weather and the freezing.
What in the world is kohlrabi?
Kohlrabi is when you pull it up, it looks like a really large radish, and it's kind of the flavor is kind of between a radish and a cabbage. It's really crunchy. It's great with salt on it on a veggie tray, and but it's it's a root crop, and it's just got a really good flavor. Some people cook them. I've only tried them just raw, just with salt on them, but they crunch just like a radish, and they taste kind of like a radish cabbage cross.
Okay, now I'm running way over time, but I got to find out, would they be really good with like ranch dressing?
Anything's good with ranch dressing. Yeah, they're good with ranch dressing.
Hey, we've got a quick call, and I want to get them on the air before we have to say goodbye. Caller, real fast. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Okay, yeah, I wanted to get a hold of you when you were on Steve's show, but I can't text. And you were talking about tomato fungus killer that you could mix in with the soil.
Uh-huh.
And I never did get the name of it. Could you give me the name and spell it?
It's called Disease Control. We have it here at the store. It's just a little it's just a concentrate that you mix up and water your tomatoes in with it. And it helps with any kind of fungus spores or anything that's in the soil.
All right. Thank you very much. Miss Vicki at Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 west of Paul. And the number to call, 438-5663. We will have her back next Monday at 10:32. Until then, stay healthy, stay well, my dear, and have a great week.
You too, Zeb, and you enjoy them raspberry muffins, and you eat one for me, okay?
It's going to be more than one, sweetheart.
All right, that'll work.
Okay, thank you. Take care.
Zeb, see ya.
Oh, nice lady right there. I always look forward to having her on my program, the lovely Miss Vicki. Thank you very much. Right now, it's time to go to the weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. And the number to call, 324-7657, or you can go to the website, scarrowsmeats.com, and check out all the delicious meats, whether it's the marinated pork ribs or the St. Louis style where the bones are removed, or the prime rib, or the ribs, everything, including the bacons, all the different bacons and the sausages and the bratwurst. Oh my goodness, it is good. Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gino with the weather.
Looking at soggy conditions for today, but by tomorrow it'll be a completely different story. Here's a look at your weather forecast. We are expecting scattered rain showers off and on throughout the day, maybe some thunderstorms by the afternoon. Plus it's going to be a little bit breezy, expecting a high of 59. Tonight, isolated thunderstorms, then tapering off to mostly clear skies in the overnight hours with a low of 33. By tomorrow, sunny skies, slightly breezy, high of 60. Looks like 65 for Wednesday. And then as we take a sneak peek at Thursday and Friday, mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be in the mid to upper 60s. That's what's your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, my. She did it. She did it. She's starting to finally come around with those 60-degree temperature readings. I'm looking forward to it, let me tell you. Weather forecast brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Don Scarrow and his entire outfit serving you with the best of meats for any and all occasions. Give them a call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I've got time for a couple of calls. Give me a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Another reminder while I'm waiting for your call, most all of us that are Christians and absolutely want to be a part of Holy Week. Last Sunday, of course, yesterday was Palm Sunday. And this week, of course, celebrating Maundy Thursday, and then Good Friday, and then, of course, Easter on this next Sunday. And going to church right now has been taken away. And it's all because of this hideous coronavirus and the scares. And I thought about this about 10 days ago, and I thought, nope, I'm not going to not celebrate Easter. We're going to have a pastor come on the program, and he's going to be on Wednesday morning at 10:30, and that's Pastor Paul Thompson, and we're going to be having a little Easter service right here on my program. Now, you have the opportunity to listen or not listen, but I'm telling you this much, we're looking forward to it. The real meaning of Easter on my show this Wednesday at 10:30. One other thing I need to mention real quick, and the Lord knows these folks need all the help they can get, and I mentioned this in the first hour this morning. Starting tomorrow, April 7th, the Senior Center on Overland and Burley will resume their curbside meal service. But, underline this word, but, you must call in today before they prepare the meals tomorrow so they know how many to prepare for. So in other words, if you want to have a takeout tomorrow curbside at the Senior Center on Overland, you just call them up at 878-8646 and say, well, we want to have 2 meals. They're only $5 a piece. Come on, and great eating, and you're supporting the Senior Center. So just call them at 878-8646. Tell them how many meals, and then get down there between 10:30 and 11:30 to pick them up, okay? Curbside service resuming again tomorrow at the Senior Center on Overland in Burley. There you go. Got it all taken care of. All right, now it's your turn. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The $2 trillion in stimulus money, again, I mentioned this earlier this morning, and I have a lot of sympathy, and I mean this, for the banking industry and also all the accountants in the area, and I just wish I could get a hold of my accountant right now. Leiden, if you're listening, could you call in real quick and maybe give us a real short overview of what's going on with all the stimulus money and the paperwork that people need to fill out if they're a small business or if they're privately employed? There's many different options. I'll just say it like that. And I just absolutely think that we need to go over some of these things to the general public so that they know there are some fundings available. He's in a meeting? Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I'll try to get him on the program the first hour tomorrow. Calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call on the landline. Love to hear what you have to say about this situation or any situation in the time remaining. Now, tomorrow on the program, I want to take a look. We've got Dan Kish, and we're going to be talking about energy and how the left is trying to utilize, very unfortunately, this coronavirus to meet and fit their needs as far as taking over power. We're going to talk to Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance on that. And then talking about global warming and climate change and the absolute incompetency of what's been thrown around by the left. Calvin Beisner is going to be on the program at 9:30. And at 10:06, we've got the world-acclaimed Dr. History, and he'll be doing it from his studio at his home and calling into my studio. And then at 10:30, I don't want you to miss, we're going to have Steve Hartkin, former state representative and former editor and publisher of the Twin Falls Times-News. Steve's going to be on the program with us tomorrow talking about the absolute idiocy of dam breaching on the Columbia and the Snake. And so we've got some really good programming coming on tomorrow morning on Zeb at the Ranch. Wheels, are you staying safe and sane over there with, I guess you're the only one in the studio right now, is that right?
Well, actually, to be honest with you, Scotty and Gina are here. Gina, about maybe a week and a half ago, came back into the radio station. She just kind of figured she could get the same stuff done here as she would at home. So I haven't been by myself.
Okay. Well, I mean, precautions are being taken by everybody in all forms of business, whether it's a bank, whether it's a library, whether it's the radio station, and we certainly wish you that you'll stay safe and well.
Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that, and it's nice to see that you and Deanne are keeping to what you're doing, and that you guys are staying healthy too. You know, I know about both of you when it comes to your conditions as well, and I'm blessed to be able to talk to you every morning.
Well, I appreciate that. You're a super young man, but I was going to say, you know, this has probably affected you. You're younger, and you want to get out and be with your friends and everything. I know that we personally, Deanna and I, have driven out of our driveway once in the last 15 days, and it's not easy just to stay at home and act like you're on a prison type atmosphere.
No, to be honest, it really isn't. And you're right. I do. Where I'm young, and I do like being out and socializing. It's been tough, you know, but I'm sticking to it. I'm keeping up on my vitamins like everybody else.
Attaboy.
Making sure that I'm washing my hands like I'm supposed to as well. And so it's working out, and I'm glad to see that everybody else is doing the same thing.
All right, Wheels.
To see how close we've all came together.
You stay careful over there and be safe, be well. We're going to wrap things up and say the way things were, the way things ought to be. And, of course, we always say these last 4 words, in God we trust. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 8:06. Zeb at the Ranch. Have a great day.